was all there, but the mailbox is on the O3 server.
Okay.
So right away, I said, well, let me just back up these. So I logged into the terminal server. I exported all those to PST, the 4 accounts to PST files, just in case something happens and the mailbox goes away. I've got a PST backup of each mailbox. They're relatively small. Even the owner only had a 1 gig PST file when I was
Okay.
done.
That's cool.
And the other three were real small, like 100 megs. So it wasn't that big a deal. I got all of them PST real quick. Um, and so then I had to figure out what's going on with these 4 accounts. I went to the PowerShell command, tried to do it that way. These would not move over locally. So I deleted the mailbox from the server and the old server.
Because you had the backup, right?
I had the backup. So I deleted the accounts completely on the O3 server. And the way I did that, on the O3 server, you go to the account, go to Exchange, Tasks, and Delete Mailbox. That marks the mailbox as pending deletion. So then you have to go into Exchange System Manager and purge it. So they're gone right away. So I did that. Then I went to the Exchange 2010 server and went to the account and the new mailbox. And that seemed to work. But I can tell you in the end, it really didn't. So I think that was a waste of time. Now, it's good to have a PSC backup because I think I'm going to need that later on. But I'll tell you what happened to these guys later on. So all the mails, as far as I know at this point, all the mails working, the phones are working, Outlook Web Access is working. And by now, it's like 11 o'clock at night, and I get an email from the office manager asking me, why was my phone not working for the past 3 hours? Because I didn't tell her I was doing this that night because I didn't plan on it. I planned on just installing it and moving them later.
You were like Tom Cruise with a Mission Impossible and just drop off the ceiling.
Yeah, I was like, okay, here we go. We gotta get this going. And once I did the first one, I knew I've got to do them all.
Right.
So I did not. Anyway, so keep in mind, there's 4 mailboxes that messed up.
Right.
Okay?
4 out of 70.
4 out of 70. So I did have to run some commands because again, the autocomplete and the active sync and all that stuff. When they were looking for the internal address, not the mail.whatever.com.
Okay.
So these commands, and I'm wondering if I would have done a news certificate, if that stuff would have been taken care of by itself. Because according to the article, you didn't have to run any of these commands.
Okay. Because when you exported the old certificate, did it have the internal name of that server?
Oh yeah. Yep. No, I'm sorry. I had the public mail.whatever.com.
Okay. All right.
So, and when I imported it, it showed the right thing. And if I went to Outlook Web Access, you would get the trusted, not the ugly warning that it's not trusted. You get the right, it would present the right certificate.
Okay.
But a lot of these services, you had to go in with the PowerShell, you had to type these long commands to say, look, use this certificate, not the one that was locally signed. Use this one.
Gotcha.
And after that, that stuff kind of started working. That took a little Googling to find out what was going on with that. So all these mailboxes are moved over. That was it for that night. The next day, I didn't really have many issues the next day, except for answering why mail was down for a couple hours. Now here's where I had some problems. I think this is what I was doing last Wednesday. The last steps are to uninstall Exchange from the small business server, and then demote the old server, the SBSO3. You basically demote it, saying this is not a domain controller anymore. So that step. So when I uninstalled Exchange, I had an error. And one thing I had was I didn't move a system account. It wasn't a system account. It was a product they installed a long time ago that added signatures or disclaimers to every email that went out.
Okay.
And it created a mailbox for itself to do this. And I didn't migrate that mailbox over. So when I tried to uninstall Exchange, I got an error message saying you can't uninstall Exchange unless all the mailboxes are gone, basically. And at first I thought, well, I don't have any mailboxes, but then I see this account on there. So I did the same thing. I went to the user account that it created, Exchange tasks, delete mailbox, and then purged it. So now there were no mailboxes, and it let me uninstall Exchange. Um, After I uninstalled Exchange, which went relatively smoothly,
Okay.
um, you have to transfer the FSMO roles, which are just roles like the RDC, the PDC, the infrastructure. There's just certain roles in a one server or in a small business server. All these 5 roles are held by the small business server.
Which is quite intriguing because in a corporate environment, that's not the case.
Right.
Or
Usually
in
you
a
have to
bigger
spread
environment.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are all the operation masters behind the scenes of what's going on. So you have, and that's a really easy thing to do. This article has great screenshots and things on what to do for this. This whole moving the roles takes about, I don't know, 2 minutes to go through all the commands, and that's pretty much it. Um, Now here's where it got interesting. You had a DC promo the old server, so you one thing you have to do first is you have to go into the settings in this server, and it's under administrative tools, Active Directory sites and services. And there's the screenshot for this in the article. Under the NTDS settings, you right click on that, go to properties. It's selected to be a global catalog server, which of course it should be because it was the only server. So you uncheck that.
And for those that might be asking, what's a global catalog? Can you briefly
Well,
summarize?
that's like the master phone book and the master record of where everything is.
Right. Every Active Directory object, which would be your computer accounts, your user accounts, anything within Active and Directory would be stored and updated there.
Right. And in a larger environment, you probably have multiple global catalog servers, maybe one on each site, or just so computers can contact. Because one thing when you log on, uh, except administrator accounts, all accounts need to access a global catalog server to log in. So there's no global catalog server available. That's when you get a message of no domain controller available. So you run DC promo. It runs. It actually takes a little while to run. It took longer to run than I thought it would.
Okay.
I'll put that. Now the one important thing you need to do is there's a screen that says this server is the last domain controller in the domain.
Yes.
Make sure that is not checked. If that's checked, you click next, you're going to have some problems. So make sure and it was not checked. When I ran this, it was not checked by default. So don't check it if it's not checked. Then you get a screen where you're going to enter a new admin password. Now this is going to be a local administrator account, not a domain account, a local account, because after you run this, it's going to want to restart. Now you're just off the domain. You're just a member server. Well, it's not a domain controller, actually. So here's where I had a problem. I did this, rebooted. Everything seemed fine. On the Exchange, the new Exchange server, I rebooted that too. Now, the whole time, I'm still logged into the terminal server.
Which is a separate, the third server, right?
Separate server, right? So at this time, a lot of times when I'm rebooting a server, I'll start a ping to the server's IP address, so I can kind of watch when it's down, when it comes back up.
Sure.
Because if you don't, it just seems like it's been 30 minutes.
Right. And we all know that if you
watch the server never reboots.
Right. And if you have rebooted a server before, we all know it's quite longer than a workstation because there's services and everything that have to start up.
So I'm starting this ping. I was pinging the old small business server, and I'm pinging the new server. And the new server comes up relatively quick, which is fine because it's a fast server. It's only running Exchange, and nobody's really using it. No file shares. The SBS server I didn't get any pings for about a half an hour.
This is the old server,
This is
right?
the old server. Now, I tried to log in to the new server and I couldn't. It told me something about, I wish I wrote it down. I forget the error, but it wouldn't let me log in. And I was like, this is crazy. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. The new server took about a half an hour to come up. The old small business server came up right away.
Okay.
So the ping started coming back from the SBS server. The new server was not coming back up. So I'm trying to log into a workstation from the terminal server, and I get the message about, can I log in? No domain controller found. I thought, okay, this is not good. And I'm trying to log in as administrator, so it should let me log in no matter what. So I'm doing a little research. About a half an hour later, I see pings start coming in. I thought, whew, thank you. Now I'm doing this remotely. Don't forget.
Oh,
So
okay.
not I can just go walk over and see what it's doing. All this is remote work, and it's kind of late at night, and I was getting a little worried. So they came up, but I see the pings, but I still couldn't log into the server.
Now, I imagine you're doing it to RDP.
Yes,
Would you even get a login box, or
I would get a login box.
Okay, I got you.
But it would not let me log in. It would give me some weird error, and I forget what the error was. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, I can browse. If I do open up a computer, / computer name / C $, I could see the files. So the server's up. I could ping the server. I cannot log into it. And when I try and open up Outlook on the terminal server, it fails. Does not open. So I can tell Exchange is down again. And the server's not accepting any remote desktop commands. So
Wait.
first thing is panic. You're like, wait a minute. What am I gonna do? So take a deep breath. Gather yourself.
Now, how far is this site from? How remote is this site?
I'm not that far. I was maybe 20 minutes away.
And someone in the chat room had asked, why do it remotely, not on site?
I do everything remotely if I can. I don't go on site unless I have to. And okay, I'll answer that real quick. We quoted these guys a certain amount.
Okay.
For estimated labor to install this. And I came in 1/3 the amount of hours we quoted because we able to do it remotely.
Gotcha.
Much easier, much easier. Well, and one thing when you're doing this stuff there, they're gonna come over and bug you every 5 minutes. Hey, can you look at this? Can you look at this? Can you look at this? And it just gets annoying and distracting when you're trying to focus on a task. And inevitably, anywhere you go, people are gonna be walking up to you. Hey, can you look at this? And it just that's not really. It's not an effective use of the time. And I hate to tell them no, but really you have to because I'm working on this. So anyway, I do remotely and it was after hours. So I'm thinking, okay, I might have to call her. So that's when I actually tried to get to it / computer name / $. I said, okay, I can access it. So it's responding somewhat. So I go into Event Viewer, and of course you can connect to a remote computer and Event Viewer.
Now, what's weird about what you're saying, and again, Matt has not shared this story. I am listening to this for the first time. That it authenticated you, or else it would have prompted you for some type of login bot if you went to the administrative share the C $.
Right. That came up. Now remember, I'm doing this from the terminal server, and I am logged in as domain admin on the terminal server before I didn't get off of that. So
Okay.
I rebooted those servers, and I still stayed in here. So it let me in. So I go to Event Viewer, and it lets me connect Event Viewer to the new domain controller. So I'm looking through the logs. Thankfully, I'm able to do that. That's what allowed me to fix the problem. So I'm looking through the event log, and I see a bunch of errors. So, of course, what do you do with event log errors? You just Google them. So I'm getting this really strange, and I can read it to you when I'm